Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the ARCA Affordable Housing. We need more.
Buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos al ARCA, Abogacía Necesitamos Más.
My name is Desiree Boykin, and I would like to go over some housekeeping rules.
La señora Desiree Boken empezará con algunos recordatorios.
First, this meeting is being recorded. For Spanish interpretation, please click Interpretation button at the bottom of your screen and select the Spanish channel. In the Spanish channel, you can select mute original audio if you only want to hear the interpreter. Otherwise, you will still hear the English presenters in the background. ASL interpreters will be on Spotlight throughout the presentation, depending on your device. This may mean that sometimes you cannot see the presenter. We apologize for the inconvenience. This presentation will also have English closed captioning, which you can access by using the button at the bottom of your screen. Your video and audio will not be available in webinar mode. You will only be able to see the presenters and interpretations. And unfortunately, chat is not active for attendees. Presenters may share some information throughout the chat during their webinar. And now it's going to be repeated in Spanish.
Esta reunión se está grabando. Para interpretación en español, por favor, haga clic en el botón de interpretación en su pantalla y seleccione el canal Spanish. En el canal de español, usted puede seleccionar Mute Original Audio si solamente quiere escuchar al intérprete. De otra forma, va a escuchar a los presentadores de inglés en el fondo. Los intérpretes de ASL, por sus siglas en inglés, serán destacados durante la presentación. De acuerdo al dispositivo que usted esté usando, esto puede significar que probablemente no pueda ver a los presentadores. Les pedimos disculpas de antemano. Esta presentación tendrá la opción de subtítulos en inglés y los puede acceder en la parte de abajo en su pantalla. Su video y audio no estarán disponibles. El seminario web solo permitirá que solo los presentadores e intérpretes estén visibles. La función de conversación o chat no está disponible para los participantes. Solo los presentadores pueden compartir cierta información por medio de la función de conversación chat durante el seminario web.
Affordable housing. We need more. What is affordable housing? 5 steps to advocate for affordable housing: finding local resources, locating your government office, telling your story, contact your local representative and share information. And finally, the conclusion. And now I'd like to pass it to Elizabeth Hassler.
Hi, thank you so much, Desiree. My name is Elizabeth Hassler. I am a client of Redwood Coast Regional Center, and I'm really excited to be talking with you all today about such an important topic. The first thing is, what is affordable housing? And so something being affordable means that you have enough money to pay for it and also for everything else you need every month. So we have this chart here that I'll describe that says that one definition of affordable housing that gets used a lot is by the government, and it says that housing is affordable if you spend no more than 30% of your income to on where you live. So because people also need to pay for other things like food and clothing and places they might want to go or things they might want to do. And because a lot of people who use regional center services as as adults, most people who use regional center services rely on Social Security income, or SSI. And SSI, people who use SSI for things that they need really don't have that much money to work with every month. And usually the one number that gets used, and this could be different for you, it depends on a lot of different situations, but one number is $914 a month for everything. And so 30% of that would be $274 a month. And I don't know about exactly the numbers in your town, but I think a lot of people on this call know that it would be really hard to find a place to live that only costs $274 a month or less. A lot of people I know end up having to spend a lot more than that on housing, even if they only have SSI to work with. And so, for example, I know somebody who had to choose between paying for rent, which he needed to do, and paying for new shoes, which he also needed. And I do know some people who have to choose between paying for food and other things that they need because they have, and part of that is because they have to pay a lot in rent. And that's really just not fair. Everybody should have a safe and secure place to live that they can afford, because that's a really important part of having that's a really important part of being able to feel secure to make other changes in or their choices in your life too. I know a lot of people with developmental disabilities like me who have to spend a lot of energy figuring out if they can find a better place to live or where they're going to live next. Like there's just, people have to spend a lot of time and a lot of their life thinking about where would be a good place for them to live and how can they live there. And that means that people don't have as much time to focus on other things, like things they like to do or different ways to change the world. There's somebody I know who lives in a group home right now, and he's actually lived there for many years, and he likes some things about it, and he really doesn't like other things about it. But it would be really hard for him to move out, even if that is a big, even if that was really important to him. And it should be, everybody deserves to have all of the different choices available to us, just like anybody else in the community. And so having the affordable housing that's easy to find is really important. There, especially if you are a client of the regional center, there are some kinds of services you can use only if you live by yourself or with a roommate. I know that for me, if sometimes my parents are like, are you sure you don't want to move back in? And it's very nice of them to offer that to me. I'm so lucky to have family support, but it would really, if I had to live someplace else, it would really change some of the things that I'm able to do. I wouldn't, it would make it a lot harder to go to different community events that are important for me to participate in. And for some, so there is a thing called housing voucher or Section 8. And that can be a good option for some people, but and it can make it so that your housing only costs what is considered affordable. And so that can help a lot of people, but it can be hard to get. Sometimes the waiting lists are many years long. And also it can be hard to find a landlord who will accept the housing voucher. So it doesn't fix the problem for everyone. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide. Sorry. Okay. So here, this is another chart. It says it is about the way that SSI benefits have changed over time. They've gone up a little bit, and it's and versus the way that the cost of an apartment has gone up over time, and that's gone up a lot. And so the at the beginning of the chart, this is about an average of the country. So the numbers are probably different where you are, but the at the beginning of the chart, the SSI was a little bit lower than the average cost of an apartment, and now the average cost of an apartment is almost double. So that really shows that it's been more difficult for people to find a place over time. And it can be really beneficial for people when they are able to find the housing that works well for them. I have a friend and person I admire who she's a really strong self-advocate, but she has a seizure disorder, and so her disability changed over time, and she lost her housing, and then for a while she was in different groups of home situations that really didn't work well for her, and so she only started being able to work toward her goals and feel safe and secure once she had her own place. And one of the things on this slide is about financial barriers for people receiving regional center services. And a financial barrier is just when you don't have enough money to do something that you need or want to do. So a lot of us have some kind of financial barrier. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll put so you can see my face. A lot of us have some kind of financial barrier. Like if I wanted to buy a $500 chocolate bar, it might not be a good idea, but having a financial barrier to having a safe and secure place to live is a really big problem that just isn't fair. And the fact that it's more difficult for people with regional center services to find a safe and secure place is a really big problem, because having an affordable, good place to live is really important for the stability of your services and just everything in your life. So where I live, there are a number of people, regional center clients, who can't find a place at all. And so they have to stay in hotels, sometimes for long periods of time. And that just really makes it hard to get your basic needs met or make new choices about your life. And I didn't know that that was such a big problem till I heard about that story. And so I think it can really show that it is important to tell each other about what's going on and to share with the people who make decisions about housing, that it can be really important to help people make big changes, if as long as they can make the choice about housing that's right for them. Next slide, please. So this is just one more chart, and this chart is about Los Angeles County in particular. So the numbers are probably different where if you don't live in Los Angeles. But the big bar on the right, that's two different colors, is the amount of housing, that affordable housing that people need. And the bar on the, or no, that's on the left. Sorry. But the taller bar is the amount of affordable housing that people need, and the much shorter bar is the amount of affordable housing that people have. And there's a red dash box that shows the difference between those two, and it really is pretty big. So, and that shows every person that doesn't have, every family that doesn't have an affordable housing is a group of people or a person who hasn't been able to make the choices about their life that were best for them yet. And that and I'm sure that a lot of people, a lot of us on this call know some folks who are really directly affected by that. And it's important to share that information and share those stories. And that's what we're here to learn about today. The one thing I want to talk about before passing it on is that this bullet point that says in competition with all Californians. And it says competition, but I like to think of it like we're all in this together. So for example, one of the people I think about when I think about people who really need affordable housing is somebody who works as a direct support professional. And she was somebody I worked with, and she had to live in a studio apartment, which means it's like one room with and she had 3 teenage kids, and they all had to live in that small space together. And that's just really shows that affordable housing is important for everyone, and that that when there's more affordable housing for anyone, it supports everyone, including regional center clients who rely on a whole bunch of people like support staff in our lives. And there is another thing that's important to understand about who needs affordable housing, and it has to do with stuff on this chart that the blue color on the chart is, and the green color, those are different income levels that are both considered low income, but blue is extremely low income, which means it includes people who have the least amount of money, which is most people who rely on Social Security income or SSI have the extremely low income, which means that if they went to a lot of different affordable housing projects, they might get told, sorry, you don't have enough money to live here. I know a lot of advocates that's happened to, actually, and that it can be a big challenge when for like affordable housing is a challenge for many people who live in California. It's definitely a challenge for a lot of people where I live, regardless of disability, but it's even more of a challenge if you use SSI, and people should really know that there's a lot of people like the blue people on the chart who need affordable housing that works for people who are extremely low income. And especially because if you are a regional center client, it might be harder for you to do things like fill out forms and stuff. You might need extra support. And so where I live, the affordable housing lists sometimes close very fast. So it's important for regional center, or for people who it's important for people who are in charge of affordable housing projects to work with the regional center to make sure that people who use regional center services get a fair shot, especially because there are different things that can happen for people who have different accessibility needs. Like I'm a wheelchair user, and so then there are different challenges for people who use services that just that people who are making plans might not hear about unless we tell the story. And then Melissa is going to share some information about how to figure out where to go when you want to talk about this issue. Michelle, sorry, Michelle. Yeah, sorry, Michelle.
Okay, thank you. And first, before I get into it, I'm want to say I'm honored to be part of this webinar. I'd just like to introduce myself and what organization I'm from. My name is Michelle Weavers, and I'm from I'm a client of Alta California. And today I would like to talk about how to find affordable housing in your area by using the internet. I will also like to talk about how to find information on on your city websites about affordable housing proposals and projects in development, so that you can advocate for projects at your local level. So let's go to the internet. We are going to Google, but you can also use any search engine you'd like to find out about local affordable housing opportunities. Next, I am simply going to find in the city affordable housing. As you will see, the first website to pop up is SRA, which stands for Sacramento Housing and Redevelopmental Agency. Take a look at, okay. It's not, it's not scrolling down. Hang on, guys. It's not scrolling down. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's take a look at what type of helpful information is on the website. As we scroll down, we also look at affordable housing list, rental list, and affordable rental housing map. This is where you can find places that may work for you. Also, we see other information like how to apply for affordable housing and the qualifications. As far as qualifications go, just like Elizabeth talked about, there are limits and categories. For example, it says, as with the income limited household, also establishes affordable housing rents for Sacramento County, which are updated and published each year. A tenant's rent based on their income level and the category under which it falls, like very low and low. For instance, a low income tenant will pay a 50% or the very low income rent rate, while a low income tenant will pay 60% or the low income rent rate. Most properties also include a utilities allowance and additional dedication or deduction from the rent to assist the tenant to pay for utilities. Next slide, please. Here are some additional websites we can look at. Let's try affordable housing in your area. To get on this website, you have to enter your name and telephone number. After entering the website, you enter your zip code to see affordable housing opportunities in your area. You will also see at the top of the list of housing agencies in your area that you can reach out to find out more about affordable housing opportunities. The next website I'd like us to take a look at is the us.government.site. This site is where you can learn about government programs that help people with low incomes find affordable rental housing. Get the details on how these programs work, who is eligible, and how to apply. Next slide, please. Now, if you're not seeing enough opportunities on these websites, you can find out how to advocate for more by searching for your city and affordable housing hearings that may be scheduled for your area. For example, let's type in Los Angeles Affordable Housing Hearings. The first website to pop up is the Los Angeles City Planner website. If you click on the website, you'll see that the city recently held a hearing regarding the affordable housing streamlining ordinance, which is a proposal to get administrative approval of 100% affordable housing projects. As you'll see on the website, the public hearing is used to collect comments from participants that may join the public hearing online or by phone at this time, anytime between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. to offer testimony. Next slide, please. In order to keep up to date about affordable housing hearings in your area, you may want to search your local city government website to sign up for newsletters. For example, let's type in the city San Jose. If you click on newsletters, this will take us directly to the webpage where you can find out about what's going on in San Jose as it relates to affordable housing. This webpage also offers any opportunity to submit to the newsletter so that you can receive them in your inbox to stay updated in order to find out more specific information about affordable housing projects. You can type in projects in the search on the webpage. You can type in projects in this, as you see, multiple updates appear about housing projects that have been development. You can also type in development projects update list. This search provides updates on major housing projects and information about the next hearing so that you can plan to advocate. Now I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth to talk about what to look out for and what to ask your what you ask of your city to increase the affordable housing opportunities in your area. Thank you. Next slide.
Hi, thank you, Michelle. And I feel glad that I remembered your name that time. I think sometimes if we're doing something that makes us nervous, it's good to just try again. Um, and so some and so this slide is about things that you can ask for when you talk to your city council or a similar office like that. And also I could think if it were me, I would just maybe ask them in a phone or email or that it might be different where you are, but these priorities are from a list of that people who are experts in getting more affordable housing put together. And they were actually people from um, different political parties who maybe disagreed on some other stuff, but they really agreed on that these things are good things for cities to try and for people to see if it's possible where you are. And the first one is to legalize more apartment units. And so the most important thing about getting more affordable housing is getting more housing, period. I know where I live, sometimes people are worried about building buildings that are maybe taller than the buildings that were there already, or apartments that are closer together. But that is something that a lot of housing experts agree is a great way to get just more housing for people that can be, because the best way to get people housed is to get them housed and for people to have places to move into. So that's the first one, is to legalize more apartment units. And it might be in large apartments, or there might be a different way that people are trying to get it to work in your town. And the second one is to legalize accessory dwelling units. An accessory dwelling unit is a place to live that's like not considered a main house, but it's on the same property as a house. And sometimes they're called garage apartments or mother-in-law units. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but some places have might have a rule currently that says that accessory dwelling units are only supposed to go on like bigger properties, or the but the housing experts say that it is a good idea for accessory dwelling units to be legal, even if the accessory dwelling unit or mother-in-law unit or whatever it's called at that time is it's a good idea for it to be legal, even if the main house is on a smaller, or the property is maybe smaller than what has been approved before. And the next thing that you might ask for is to approve developments that meet zoning laws. And zoning laws are laws that help a city decide what kinds of buildings can go where. And so it makes sense to have rules, because that might be like that you can't have a giant factory next to a school or something like that. It probably is different in a little different in every place, but that and so zoning laws are a thing that make a lot of sense to follow, and that, but it's people might, there might be disagreement about what kind of housing should get built where, and if it's a good idea to put more housing in a particular place. And one thing that you can ask for to advocate for affordable housing is just to say that you want to approve a development if it meets zoning laws, and that you really think that the approving new housing being built is a good way for is a good thing for the city council or other local government office to do. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is probably the most challenging one on this list. And if there's ever something that you want to participate in, but you don't understand part of it, or you feel nervous, you can ask for help from somebody that you trust, and somebody who would be an expert in how to help work with that project. But right now it's my job to say what it means to inventory and allocate public land for affordable housing. But just I want to make sure that people feel encouraged to try new things and ask questions if you don't understand. But inventory and allocate public land for affordable housing is when a city or local government decides that it's good to, like, maybe people might want to put a mall somewhere, or I don't know, a new skating rink, and maybe those would be good things to have, but affordable housing is really important for a lot of people. And so you could say, no, I want this land to be used for affordable housing. Allocate means to decide how to use something, and inventory means to check out what you have and decide what to do with it. So inventory and allocate public land for affordable housing is to say that you think that affordable housing is a really important thing that there should be more of where you live. Thanks. And now Jessica has more details about what it's like to talk to what it's like to talk to government people and give testimony. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Gould, owner of J. Gould Consulting. I've been working in the housing industry as a consultant for about 4 years. And I have a personal tie to this as well, being a person of low income and have a whole entire history. But today is not about me. We're going to go through 2 steps for advocacy. There are 2 technical levels, city and state. So this first slide is showing you guys how to testify in a hearing that could be associated with your city or associated with your state, but it's testifying in a hearing. The first thing you want to do is thank the committee for the opportunity to speak today. Both public individuals and people representing organizations are open to these committees. It's open to the public, which means anyone. So the next thing you're going to want to do is identify yourself as a public individual, your name, and then you go into the issue, which we'll go into on the next slide, how to do that, or just the name of the organization and your name, who you're representing. Next slide, please. Clearly state your position. So when it comes to legislation or pieces of law that want to be changed and they're in hearings, there's opposition and approval. The organizations you will work with or that you encounter when you're like, oh, I care about this issue, will help you figure out what position to take. Or you can state it on a personal level if you're doing it on an independent basis. Summarize any recommendations coming from the organization or coming from you as if you're speaking as an individual person. These are recommendations based on the information of the situation. And finally, the closing statement is thank you very much for having me here today, and restate the organization you're with or restate your name. Practice this several times. You have a maximum of 5 minutes when speaking in a hearing. Make sure to connect yourself with the organizations that you're deciding the issues are important with, so they can help you prep for these situations, especially if you're doing it on an individualized level. On an organizational level, usually those types of things are built in. Next slide, please. Now that we know how to testify in a hearing, the next step, or sometimes in correlation with that step, is to write a letter to your local representative, local state representatives. Sydney, can you please pull up the Find Your Rep website? The screen you are seeing today is the website anyone can access to find their legislator. To make this easy, we have used the ARCA address. It is applicable to both residential and businesses, so it's the same website for both. Right here we have Assembly Member McCarthy and Senator Ashbury. Sydney, can you please click on Senator McCarthy's link? This is the first step of engagement. You can click, you can choose to update, to sign up for updates, or you can request a meeting and contact the office. And on the side of the screen is the address to the local and capital office. Go down a little bit, Sydney, for me. Down, down, down. Right there. This is on any senator or assemblyman's site or assembly person's site, is their office addresses. This is the first step of engagement. Thank you for sharing your screen, Sydney. Now that we have that information, here comes the fun part. How in the world do you get the word out? You have to write a letter. So here's how letter writing, next slide. Here's how letter writing works. You write who you are. Are you an organization? You say, I'm so-and-so from X organization. For example, I would say, my name is Jessica Gould from J. Gould Consulting. I'm here to write to you about Assembly Bill or a Senate Bill XXX. There's going to be numbers attached to the bills. So you will already know what bill number you're speaking of. This issue matters to me because blank. So as an individual, that could be, it's something that impacts you personally. As an organization, it could be an observation you make in your industry or system-wide. These are just some samples. And then in your last line on the first paragraph, you write, please find context to the bill below. This is where you take the technical information from organizations that do legislative advocacy work and make bills available to the public and plop that information right in the center. Right underneath that, you're right. Thank you very much for your time for reading this today. Please consider opposition or approval of ABSB blank blank. Restate why it matters sincerely and your name. You can also put in your email address at the bottom of letters. The reason why I say this is this gives them a direct link to speak to you. You're not required to do this. It depends on how deep you want to get into the conversations. There is a portal used from 2019 to now in order to submit letters. It is www.californiaadvocate.ca.gov. Do not worry about memorizing any of this information today. This whole entire audience will get all resources that I am talking about in these slides after this webinar, as long as you register. And I will be available to anyone with further questions on this section of this webinar. Thank you so much for your time today. And I'm going to pass it back to Desiree for the next section of the webinar.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon again. My name is Desiree Boykin. I am the advocate at SLARC. And I would like to share information about how we can increase the advocacy for affordable housing in your area. As you well may know, it's very important to share information because the more people that testify in your favor of affordable housing, the more likely it is your local government will approve these projects. The first group we should share is with your regional center local client advisory committee. And each regional center has a client advisory committee that is committed to advocating for people that receive regional center services. And if you are not aware of how to get in contact with your regional center client advisory committee, you can contact your service coordinator for more information about when they meet, how you can attend and talk about the importance of affordable housing, and to tell them how to attend upcoming hearings and testify. Another important place to contact is your local state Council on Developmental Disabilities. This provides support to people receiving regional center services by advocating on their behalf in areas as related to health, home, and work. In addition to headquarters in Sacramento, the council supports 12 regional offices that provide to individuals with developmental disabilities and their families, including, but not limiting to advocacy assistance, training, monitoring, and public information. If you're not aware who to contact in your area for more information on state council, you might want to ask for information from your local regional center or search for the information on the internet. Personally, I have been participating in my local client advisory committee and the ARCA statewide client advisory committee, as well as the State Council on Developmental Disabilities and the statewide advocacy network for many, many years. So I can firmly say firsthand that these groups are truly dedicated to improving the lives that receive regional center services. Next slide, please. In order to increase awareness statewide, you may want to contact your California Housing California and California Housing Consortium. According to the California Housing Consortium, their long-term goal is to increase affordable housing for all, as stated. Everyone who lives in the golden state of California, and every Californian deserves a home. In fact, the California Housing is advocating for a roadmap for 2030, which is proposed legislation to increase affordable housing statewide by making investment on long-term basis to end the affordable housing crisis in California. The website that provides these templates and letter can be sent to your local representative to support and propose legislation. The California Housing Consortium is united voice for creating affordable housing that lifts Californians out of poverty and builds strong communities. Over the last several years, the California Housing Consortium has successfully made possible new sites for affordable housing, quicker approvals, and has organized many groups committed to tackling California's homeless challenges. Recently, the California Housing Consortium has shared a joint letter with Governor Newsom to highlight the $6 billion in investments that can be made in this year's state budget to bolster the state's affordable housing production programs. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Please feel free to email, submit your questions and comments to the email below.